What's up people, Forrest here. If you follow me on Instagram, then you will know that recently I've started making SFM posters. I haven't been making them for long, but I've learned a lot of things along the way, and I feel like they can help other beginners. So when you first download SFM and start it up, you're gonna get this window. First thing you wanna do, name your session. I'm gonna name this tutorial. Then here, this directory is where the project file for the session is going to be located. Next is the frame rate, which is pretty self-explanatory. I'm just gonna leave it at 24 because that is the default. Then here is the recent session, which is the previous session that you opened before reopening SFM. And here's opening session, which is opening a specific session or project file. And then here is a bunch of stuff you don't have to worry about. So now that we have our name and our directory here, we can click create. Now the first thing you're gonna notice is that it says here no map loaded, and you can see there's nothing. Oh, and also SFM stops this one. This is pretty normal, you don't have to worry about this. It should fix itself soon. Okay, it's back to normal. Now when you open up SFM and create your session, this isn't what it's gonna look like exactly. It's gonna look different. And that's because I have a secondary viewport over here, and also I put my timeline down here. You can add a secondary viewport by coming over here to Windows, secondary viewport. Now how SFM works is kind of different from other 3D programs in that when you load up SFM, you don't get a model straight away like in Blender or other softwares. Here you need a pre-existing map. You can't make a map here, you have to make a map. You have to make a map in a separate program like Blender or ZBrush. Alright, so first things first, you're gonna load a map. To do that, go over to either viewports, then right click, and you're gonna go down here to load map. So as you can see, it says here loading map. Alright, now that your map is loaded, you can move around your camera now. To move about, all you have to do is just press W to move forward, S backwards, D to the right, A to the right, X down, Z up, and to move faster just hold shift, and to move slower just hold shift. If you have a really bad computer, you can go down to the viewport, right click, and disable lighting. Alright, as you can see, I loaded up a new map, and the first thing you're going to want to do is create a new camera. You can do that by coming up to here to this animation set editor and just right clicking, then clicking on creating an animation set for camera, then click and drag, then come over here to the second viewport, drop, and you'll see that camera 1, our camera here, has been assigned to the second viewport. So right now you're gonna notice that you can't move the camera 1, and that is because we are in the wrong tab. We have to go to the motion editor. As you can see, we can move our camera. We're gonna adjust the field of view a bit. Oh, and also to get rid of this white lines, come over here to a tone, the boom scale, just drag all the way down. As you can see here in our camera, we can see where our camera 1 is pointing to. If we move our field of view, you can see that that is being affected. To undo anything, any steps, you want to go back a step, press Ctrl Z. If you want to redo it, press Ctrl Shift Z. To save your project, press Ctrl S. If you want to create a new project file for this session, press Ctrl Shift S, which we don't need to do. So now that we have our map and our camera, let's add in our model. To create a new model, just come up here to the animation set editor, right click, and then come down to new model. Now I usually make SFM posters of Splatoon, so I'm just gonna add type in here Inkling. So you're gonna see here that it is loading all of the models. As you can see, we now have all of our models here. I'm gonna be a bit more specific and type in girl. I'm just gonna scroll down here until I find Inkling girl, until I find the model. So here is our models, and let's pick a hair eye color that is nice. I guess we can go pink. And you're gonna notice that whatever model we spawns in front of our camera 1. So I'm just gonna select our character and drag it back. What these little arrows are is the axis points of which you can drag it. So this is one way, this is another way, this is up or down, and then these little circles here are to carry in between the two colors. Now you're also gonna see that the eyes aren't really correct. They are like going into the head. So just select your model come down to over here, see this local view target factor, just click and drag all the way to the right, and you're going to see that the inkling eyes are facing forward. First thing we should do is give our inkling some clothes. So just come up here, right click, create animation set for new model, Splatoon shirt. If you can't see the model in the this viewport right here, that's fine. I'm pretty sure it's not supposed to do that, but SFM is a pretty old software, so as you can see, our shirt model is spawns in front of the camera. So to attach it to our Inklingo model here, and drag our Inklingo model and hover it over our quote model and then release. You're gonna see that there is this lock icon here. Just select our clothes model, come over to the 0 slider, then slide it all the way to the right, and you are going to see that it is now on our Inklingo. I want to change her pants, so I'm just gonna left click, select our Inklingo model, right click, and then come down to set body group, come down to pants, and I'm gonna change this to BTM003. And as you can see, our Inklingo now has black long pants. Alright, now that I've added all the clothes I want, I'm gonna start posing. But before that, I'm going to go over here and disable this for all of the clothing and accessories that I've put on my inkling here. Now it's time to start posing. To start posing, just select your inkling model, press Ctrl, and then select one of these bones and come down here to this, click on this, it'll rotate here, and this will appear. This will be what you will use to rotate all of the joints. You'll also notice that when you select a bone, you'll see that it selects here too. Also, if it's lagging with the clothes on, you can just disable all of them. Alright, now that I'm done posing, now that we have our pose and clothes done and everything, it's time to change maps. Now as you can see, we have our map loaded. Alright, now it's time to do the lighting. But first, since my PC is kinda shit, I'm gonna right click here and disable lighting first. And come here and right click, come down to create animation set for a new light. And what I'm gonna do is right click it, drag, and then drag it into this viewport right here. And what you're gonna see is that the light is now facing where my camera one is. So I'm just going to do a bit of this. Now I'm going to re-enable the lighting, and as you can see, there is a light visible there. Now I'm going to mess with some of the settings. I don't really know what most of them do, if I'm being honest. I'm going to make a sort of yellowish color because that's what the sun is. And also if you come to this camera over here, you can see that there is this thing called tone map scale, and that is sort of adjusting the overall exposure of the camera. Also, I'm going to come over to the console, then enter R underscore shader and set this to 1. And when I update it, you can see that it is much darker. Once I click tab, I'm going to add a second light and drag it over here. Alright, we've moved to a new map and I did the reposing. So I'm gonna re-enable lighting and just gonna enable these. Now I'm going to add a sunlight coming from behind her. Now we are done. As you can see, it's kind of dark. There's a lot of contrast, but we're gonna do a bit of compositing later on. We're gonna render two versions of this poster. So first, we're going to hit Ctrl M on our keyboards. We're going to redirect our output path. I'm gonna name this tutorial. Now I'm gonna set this to image sequence, then this to PNG. I'm gonna set this to custom, this to frames, then this to 1. Also gonna go to more options. Progressive refinement depth field is all the way here. This ambient occlusion show A1 outline. We're also gonna want this enabled other entities, and now I'm just going to export. Second version we're going to render is we're gonna first disable all of our lighting, and we're gonna go back to console and disable our shader, and we're gonna set our tone map scale to 0.2, and we're gonna render this time in a folder, at least when you export. Alright, now that we are done with that, what we're gonna do now is we're gonna open up After Effects. Alright, this is gonna be the first thing you see when you open up After Effects. Click on the red X over here, then come over to Projects, then we just get our image here. So we just click and drag this over to this little thing over here. Alright, now we just add this both here, and we're gonna save, and I'm just gonna call this SFN tutorial. Alright, you're gonna see here that our top one is this one with the shader. What we're gonna do is we're gonna add an effect called curves. We're gonna bring this down till the middle. We're gonna drag here all the way up to the middle as well. Then we're gonna add fourwashere bokeh blur. I'm gonna set this to 35, and I'm gonna set the blur, the roundness to 1. Then we're gonna come over here, toggle switch modes, and then come here to the blending modes, click it, and then set it to additive. Alright, maybe not a bokeh blur, Gaussian blur. Yeah, that's totally fine. You're gonna see that it's kind of a little too saturated, so we're gonna tone this down a bit. We're also gonna add brightness and contrast on the bottom layer. We're gonna turn up contrast all the way and brightness down a bit. That's fine. The Gaussian blur is a bit too much, so I'm gonna set it to 2 instead. Maybe not additive, classic, screen, and then we can add deep glow, 400, additive, smooth blending. Alright, now I'm gonna do some masking on the window, so I'm gonna duplicate this, and I'm going to get Royal Brush, double click this image, then I'm gonna hover over, and I'm gonna hover my mouse over the previous screen and then press the tilde key on my keyboard. Now I'm gonna zoom in using scroll mouse wheel, and I'm just gonna paint about right here. Alright, I'm done with the masking, so I'm just gonna go up here and return to composition. I'm gonna click on the press on the tilde key, I'm gonna save, and when I solo this, you're gonna see that it is now just that. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to add fill. I'm gonna set this to white, and I'm gonna tone this, actually no, then I'm going to duplicate it, add a Gaussian blur, and then set this to about 24, and turn the blending mode to additive, and turn this down a bit, and okay, yep, that should do just that. I'm gonna set this to 1. Yeah, that looks way better. Right now we are ready for some color correction. So I'm just gonna press Ctrl Alt Y to add an adjustment layer. And what an adjustment layer is whatever effect you apply here, it affects the layers below it. So yeah, you can see here, that's what it does. So the first effect I'm gonna add is curve, and I'm just gonna do this. And already it's looking kind of better, way better. Then the next thing I'm gonna add is color balance. So the reds are the highlights and the blue are the shadows. So I'm just gonna tone this down, turn this up. Then here in the red highlights, I'm just on this side, this up. Just gotta balance the values so that make sure they're not too crazy. Now the next thing I'm gonna add is a glow. The glow I'm gonna be using is universe glow. I'm gonna set this to 80, this to 35. It's not handling well. Okay, this is the point. Fall off all the way to 1. Gamma to 0.5. So now we can add hue set this to 25. So I'm just gonna add one last effect, and it is called Magic Bullet Looks. So I'm just gonna add it before the glow, and this window should pop up. We're gonna enlarge it, and we're gonna press this and now we can add our little effects here. Maybe we shouldn't make our own effects right now, so I guess we can just like go through here. Oh hell yeah, that looks good. Wait, hold on, let me just take a look at the others. We can modify this from here. So the spot exposure, the stops, we're gonna just make it down a bit. We can add a lot. I usually use, is it Polaris? Oh yeah, I'm really sure that pop as well. 45, this to 1. The last thing we're gonna add is our watermark. Control Alt Shift T, and we are gonna add your name. To change the font, you just go to where is character, and you can change the font here. By default, it is something else, but for me, I set the default to Arial and this to bold. I'm just gonna set this to around here. I guess we can add a bit of rotation, and I'm gonna add a drop shadow, and do this. Then I'm gonna set this to overlay. Alright, now we are done with our poster. We're gonna render it, hit Ctrl M, and we're gonna put this to JPEG sequence. Just copy my settings, then we're gonna put our file somewhere and just render. Alright, now it's done. We're gonna save, we're gonna close After Effects. Then we are going to upscale it because we rendered using 720p. So here is a website I use to upscale all of my images. I'll leave a link in the description. So just grab your image, whatever image you want. Honestly, it doesn't have to be as a fan poster. So just drag it here, and I'm gonna bring this slider all the way to 8. Once it's done with that, we're gonna click on start process, and we just play the waiting game. Alright, I'm done. Now I'm just gonna click download, and it's gonna take a while for it to download at first. Alright, here is the download. So here it is. The final image. I mean, it could have been better. So if you enjoyed this video or found it helpful,